Hi you guys, it's Amanda with Healthy House on the Block, and I'm here with another weekly video and tip on creating an indoor space that really supports your health and wellness. This week we're going to be talking about bedding, organic sheets, comforters, and duvet covers, and I'm going to talk to you about why it is so important to the health of your body to have organic and low toxin items where we sleep. We're going to cover this in depth this week. I'm also going to share with you how to go about buying these things, how to find them. I like to share with you the process in finding these things and not just giving you my picks on what I think is the best. I think it's such an important tool to have in your toolbox to be able to find, research, and buy products that are healthy for your home. But I'm also going to share with you my top picks that I have found because I have found a few brands that I really trust when it comes to bedding. I'm also going to share with you the toxins that honestly I didn't even realize were in sheets and bedding that are the conventional products that we buy at the store, not necessarily organic. And so we're going to talk about why it's important to really pay attention to what you're buying because sometimes we don't know what's in it. I'm going to take you through some slides that cover this week's blog post in more of a video format. If you would like links to the bedding that I am talking about and some of the studies that I'm referring to, you can head to this week's blog post. It is the link at the bottom of the video description. Otherwise, let's get started and learn a little bit about organic bedding. So let's celebrate sleep, shall we? I love sleep, and while I can never seem to get quite enough of it, I still prioritize it above so many other habits. And there are certain ways I do this with the products and materials that are allowed into my bedroom space at home. At the Institute for Building Biology, we refer to bedrooms as sleep sanctuaries. And I have come to absolutely love this phrase as it really speaks to just what our bedrooms could have potential for: restoration and healing. And when we sleep, our bodies work in a different way to finish up all the work from during the day. Our brains, muscles, and systems have time to detox, heal, and get ready to start another day. By keeping our beds and our bedrooms in line with low toxin living, it gives our bodies a break from the toxin overload we can experience throughout the day. We know that proximity to a toxin and length of exposure are often two of the key factors in how bodies are affected by what's around us. This is why organic bedding really does matter in terms of creating a healthy space at home. It's also why I think it's such an excellent place to start when you begin cutting out toxins in your home. So as always, I love sharing more than just what my top picks for something like organic sheets would be. Instead, this week's post, I also want to share with you why toxins matter in our sleeping spaces, the toxins that are in most of the conventional bedding we find, how to find organic sheets and toxic-free bedding, and the brands that I trust for organic bedding. It can definitely be an investment right away, but there's so many ways that you can slowly swap out bedding for toxin-free alternatives. That's the beauty of knowing just how to find toxin-free bedding. You can purchase things on sale when you see them if you know what you're looking for. As I mentioned before, two of the biggest factors that come into play when it comes to toxin exposure is the proximity to a toxin as well as the length of time that we are in contact with that toxin. Sleeping for 6 to 8 hours a day on a toxin like formaldehyde or pesticides is a long exposure, and chances are that your body is in direct contact with those toxins. A while ago, I shared with you a post that was all about the 3 main ways we're exposed to toxins on a daily and almost constant basis. The idea is that we are exposed through toxins we ingest, the toxins we're touching on our skin, and the toxins we inhale. Any toxin we're exposed to in more than just one of these ways automatically makes it a toxin that can be difficult for our bodies to get rid of through the natural detoxification process. Our bodies naturally detoxify throughout the day constantly. But what happens when we are in contact with more than one toxin than our body can get rid of is that body burden sets in. Body burden is when our systems, such as our gut, immune, or hormones, cannot function properly because they are constantly under the burden of toxins. Imagine our body trying to detoxify while we sleep. This is prime time for our bodies to naturally get rid of these things. We have no food coming in and no external toxin exposure, so our bodies can work on the toxins that have entered our body throughout the day. Our bodies can truly restore, and you can start the next day fresh with a system that has been mostly cleansed. By keeping our sleeping spaces free from as many toxins as possible, it makes this scenario possible. Obviously, there are other factors that can come into play, making this detoxification process a bit more tricky. For example, if you have had mold exposure, it can halt the natural detoxification process. But overall, this is the idea behind keeping our sleeping sanctuary just that, a place to let our bodies heal and restore. So conventional bedding often has a number of toxins present that we haven't even thought about. You may think you're just buying a set of sheets, but really what you're getting could potentially have more toxic components. If your sheets or blankets are advertised as wrinkle-free, chances are they've been treated with formaldehyde. Formaldehyde and other chemicals are embedded into the fabrics to make them resistant not only to wrinkles, but also stains and liquids. Any sheet, blanket, or bedding that advertises some sort of superpower like stain-resistant, moisture-wicking, or wrinkle-free is a red flag to look into the product more. Formaldehyde is a known carcinogen and off gases, meaning it's a toxin we inhale as well as absorb. Bleach contains the chemical chlorine in order to whiten and disinfect. Bedding that is stark white has the potential for being treated with chlorine bleach to get the fibers bright and beautiful. Chlorine is one of those toxins that we come in contact with throughout the day, and our bodies can become overwhelmed and burdened by it. It's been linked to an increased risk for asthma and allergies in children and an increased risk of melanoma and skin cancer. Even if you're purchasing plain old cotton sheets, chances are the cotton grown to make those sheets has been treated with pesticides. A while ago, I wrote about pesticides and shared just how many places in your home pesticides are found. We're exposed almost constantly with our clothing, our textiles, and of course, our bedding and sheets. Pesticides in our home and textiles have been linked to an increased diagnosis of ADHD in children, increased risk of childhood cancers, and an increased risk for developmental defects and stillbirths. In adults, it has been linked to Parkinson's disease, altered hormone production, and endocrine function, as well as reproductive problems. So often sheets come in a variety of beautiful colors and designs, and unfortunately some of the conventional sheets you may find use heavy metals in the production of those pigments. These heavy metals include both cadmium and lead, which are both toxic to our bodies. These heavy metals build up within our systems as our bodies take longer to detox these toxins. Children have an especially difficult time detoxifying from heavy metals, and so it's best to avoid them altogether. Sheets that have rich and bright colors should be double checked before purchasing because these heavy metals are not only harmful to our bodies, but also to the environment and wildlife that experience the runoff from the production. And those brushed microfiber sheet sets might feel super soft, but microfiber is made up of polyester and other man-made materials that release VOCs, like formaldehyde, into the air, as well as phthalates. Essentially, you're sleeping on tiny particles of plastic. I talk about phthalates and plastics a lot because it's a toxin we're constantly exposed to in our homes, and it's a toxin we can work hard to reduce wherever possible. Phthalate exposure has been linked to reproductive issues and neurological toxicity in both kids and adults. It's also a huge endocrine disruptor, which in turn affects the thyroid function, immune system, and the reproductive system. Phthalates have also been linked to lower IQ in children, problems with attention and hyperactivity, as well as poor social communication. But the biggest problem is microfiber is a plastic that never breaks down. It's staying in our bodies and environment for extremely long times and affecting our ecosystem and our bodies negatively for years and years after use. So I think the best way to find toxin-free bedding is to look for organic sheets, organic blankets, and organic comforters. That being said, not all organic is the same, and so here's what you need to know about each certification that you might run across while shopping for organic bedding. The Global Organic Textile Standard is one that makes sure dyes and inks comply with biodegradability and toxicity requirements. GOTS also makes sure that the products do not contain any allergenic, carcinogenic, or toxic chemical residues. And finally, they also certify factories have a high-functioning wastewater treatment plant to ensure it protects local ecosystems and water supplies. The Organic Content Standard is another great third-party certification that checks the products to make sure they contain the proper amount of organically grown materials. This certification doesn't necessarily address the use of chemicals or environmental aspects of a product, however. And then the Oeko-Tex Standard 100 does independent testing and certification to verify textiles at all stages of production. They look at the raw and dyed fabrics, finished fabrics, and knits, as well as ready-made fabrics. The testing they provide focuses on the intended use of the textile and how much skin contact the fabric will have. And then the last idea is to find a brand that you trust. I'm going to share with you 4 of my favorite brands that I trust for bedding in my own home. And on the blog this week, I am also sharing some of their actual products because sometimes that's the easiest way to do some shopping is to look at something that we already know and trust. Here's a little sneak peek at what is on the blog this week. So as you go about creating your healthy home, consider making some permanent changes to your bedding and bedroom. Switching to organic bedding, organic sheets, and blankets can be an investment at first, but you're investing in your health and wellness and creating a healthier space all at the same time. If you'd like links to anything that I mentioned in the slides this week, head to the link at the bottom of my video description to bring you to the blog post. Well, you guys, that was so much fun to learn about organic bedding. I always love learning why I need to be making a change, not just the fact that I need to make it. And so I hope that was helpful to you to be able to understand the toxins that are in most bedding that we buy and how to find organic bedding in the future. I do these videos every week. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out. Otherwise, I'll be back here next week with another healthy house tip on creating an indoor space that really supports your health and wellness.